Hello, shortcuts. This is video 2 for November 8th. As always, price list will go out 9 p.m. sharp, Sydney time. All right. This is a classic rock list with a little bit of blues as well. Yeah, all right. I'll call it some blues in there for sure. Also features some of the greatest double albums of all time and a very rare and interesting promo. Now, the opening pick. Oh, there's a picture disc as well. I had to go with this. And you might be surprised, but I'll explain why. So this is the Japanese first press of Tons of Sobs by Free. This is the hard cardboard gatefold. Paul Rodgers, Paul Kossoff, Andy Fraser, and Simon Kirke. How and why, especially when you see what's to follow, should this record be the lead off? Well, this album was released in 1968. It was a full year before Led Zeppelin 1. And it laid down the blueprint for blues rock before Led Zeppelin even entered the studio. And what is even more kind of, coincidental, serendipitous, I don't know what the right word is. There's a song on this called The Hunter, which was a song that was originally written for Booker T and the MGs, that Led Zeppelin, I'm going to use the word covered. They did their own unusual version. I'm pretty sure it's called How Many More Times on the second last song on side 2. Virtually the same lyrical content, just a massively different experience. A lot of people think that Fire and Water, etc., from the mid-70s, Free's best album. It really isn't. This is, by a mile, their best album. What's extraordinary about it is the 4 kids, and they were kids, who wrote this record, none of them were out of their teens. And in fact, Andy Fraser, the bass player, was 16 when this record was recorded. It was recorded for 800 quid over 2 days. They pretty much played the set that they played when they toured. It's got an acoustic intro and outro, and in between is basically 33 minutes of blues riffage at its ultimate. I love this record. I cannot believe how good it is. It's kind of lost. I mean, Worry, Walk in My Shadow, Wild Indian Woman. They're all incredible. The opening track starts, it's called Over the Green Hills Part 1, and the closing track being Over the Green Hills Part 2. Starts as this acoustic song, and you think, okay, I get it, it's kind of folk, whatever. And then the band kicks in with this really interesting time signature. And then by the time you've kind of, in your own mind, clocked the signature, they hit a groove, and it does not let up. It is so good. And this Japanese first press sounds amazing. Honestly, it is a belting record. I prefer this to Led Zeppelin 1. By the way, I don't think Led Zeppelin 1 is by any means anywhere near the best that Led Zeppelin did. It's, I don't know, 4th or 5th for me. But this is a better record, I think. I enjoy it from start to finish. There are parts of Led Zeppelin 1 where I'm like, it just feels like the melody's gone and there's chugging. It just doesn't work for me. I love Tons of Sobs by Free. If you don't know this record, dive in. That Japanese press is amazing. Now, when you see what is second here, you're going to question my sanity. But this is the second record. This is the Japanese first press of The Wall. Hard cardboard gatefold, as you might expect. It is a marvelous copy. Now, there were a couple of club members here today in my place, and we played this record. The vinyl is silent. It is so quiet. The dynamics, the bass, the soundscape is phenomenal. And look up, just go to Discogs and look up The Wall, Japan. Just pick the Japanese first press and go and read the reviews. And you will see page after page after page of people saying, this record is phenomenal. It is the best sounding record in my collection. It's just, and it just keeps going. And it totally lives up to the hype. It is fantastic. The only issue is expensive. So just warning, this copy is strong VG++ sleeve. Normally, this record is really annihilated with foxing. The only place where you can really see it, and I think it can probably be fixed, you can probably see there's a little bit there. Other than that, this thing is as good a copy as I've ever seen. Brilliant, brilliant pressing. Now I've got 2 live albums from the 70s, both doubles, that I love very much. Thin Lizzy's Live and Dangerous. I had a UK first press of this, and I let it go because this Japanese press sounds bloody good, really good. It's on the Vertigo label. At this time, Lizzy were an incredible live attraction. The band were super tight. Of course, there's the controversy about how they tidy things up in the studio afterwards. But having listened to and read some books around this time, that was pretty much what every band were doing. I'm curious as to whether this band were doing it. This is Rush, All the World's a Stage. The Japanese first press on hard cardboard gatefold again. First time I've ever had that. This first time I've ever seen it. I'm not the biggest Rush fan in the world, which is why I'm quite happy for other folks in the club to have these records. But again, what you get is the insert with the truly bonkers lyrics that Neil Peart, the drummer, wrote for these songs. This, of course, was the live album that they did. Someone as a kind of a stopgap / grab some time after the massive hit that was 2112. And there's a bunch of songs from 2112 on here, but this is the vinyl on the Mercury label, and very, 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 very lovely it is indeed. Rush, All the World's a Stage. I think that's their first live album, arguably their best. This next record is kind of mad. And, you know, I have read, and I don't have many picture discs, so I'm not a aficionado of picture discs by any means. But I have read the let's call it the acknowledged truth that all picture discs sound crap. That is the fact, or a fact in inverted commas. Well, I played this one today, and whilst this is not my favorite record, in fact, I don't think it's a great record. It is a fun record, though. There's the obi that the record comes in, and see if we can work this out. This is the back side of the insert. Are we getting any warmer? There's the lyric sheet. There's the front side of the insert. And now you will see that this is the Japanese picture disc of Slippery When Wet by Bon Jovi. And there he is, in all his pomp and glory. And this record sounds pretty good. I'm like, I would not have known that this was a picture disc, albeit I'm very familiar with the singles, but I wouldn't be able to tell you too much about other pressings. Since I knew this was coming, I mentioned it to a couple of people on some Facebook groups that I'm on, and I have been tortured about selling this record to some of the rock and roll groups that are out there on Facebook. But I'm not going to do that because it's going to go to you folks. Well, of course, I will do that if none of you want it. But that is a very unusual and interesting artifact. The Japanese picture disc first press of Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet. And we mentioned, you know what? I'm going to talk about this one next. Let's save Led Zeppelin. This is by some measure, and I mean a long way, the rarest record on the list tonight. This is a promo. This is, and there are the symbols that mean not for sale. This is the Japanese first press promo of the Clash's final album, Cut the Crap. Now, this is, and there's the sample sticker on the back, in mint condition. I don't reckon this has ever been played. The Clash by this point had fired Mick Jones because he was too interested in being a rock star, which was against the aesthetic of Joe Strummer and the rest of the band. They went out and hired a couple of guitarists. They did some recruitment, hired a couple of guys. One was called, and I love the story, Greg White. And Topper Headon was like, I am not being in a band with anyone called Greg. So the band named him Vince. And that's what he went by. It was pretty short-lived, though, because this was their final record. Joe Strummer, after Sandinista and Combat Rock, he wanted this to be a return to the kind of hard, kind of punk-based rock and roll of the first couple of records. And so they really tried, but there are, I think, some challenges in places with the production, but there are also some belting tracks. I think there are two of my, I'm a big Clash fan, there are two of my favourite Clash songs on here. The first is side 1, track 2, Dirty Punk. I don't understand why they didn't release that as a single. I reckon it would have flown by. But by far the best track, and maybe in the top 3 greatest Clash tracks of all time, is the opening track of side 2, This Is England, which became the name of that wonderful series, This Is England by Shane Meadows, that kind of celebrated 70s and 80s teenage life in England. The Japanese first press promo of the Clash's Cut the Crap. Goes without saying, I've never had that before. I've never even knew it existed. Alright, now there's a couple of really fun things. This pressing of Led Zeppelin 2, the P10101A. I've heard so much feedback about how brilliant it is. But what I love about it is when this record comes with the poster, because I think this is the best Led Zeppelin poster that was ever done anywhere in the world. And there's a couple of reasons. Firstly, it's just a big black morass that says Led Zeppelin, except down the bottom in Atlantic green, the live band playing. It is so striking in the flesh. It just looks incredible. And I think that, the Japanese nailed that poster. That poster has never been on a wall. It's only been unfolded a few times. This whole record is in unbelievable condition, as close to mint as you will ever see. All right, time for some Moby Madness. Moby Madness? Obi Madness. You know I like this. So this is Hey Jude, the 1970s compilation of A-sides and B-sides and singles and other things that didn't make it onto any of the Beatles records. Named Hey Jude, of course, because of the monster hit that was Hey Jude. So this is Go Brown Shoe, Don't Let Me Down, Rain, The Ballad of John and Yoko. I'm not sure I've ever had it with an Obi before, but there it is. I've definitely never had this with an Obi before. The Flock of Seagulls, or is it A Flock of Seagulls? I'm not sure. Their debut album that has, for my money, two of the greatest singles, not just of the 80s, but in the history of British chart music. The first is I Ran, which is, I think, an amazing song. And what I love about the Japanese pressing is it has the full 7 or 8 minute version of I Ran with the amazing intro. But there's also the Space Age Love Song. The Space Age Love Song is one of the great singles. It's a perfect song in my view. And I was perfectly happy with my Aussie pressing of this, because even the Aussie pressing of Flock of Seagulls is pretty pricey now, because it's a really well produced record. It hasn't aged. It doesn't sound dated in any way, but that Japanese pressing is a blinder. And the final Obi Madness for this week's list is this: Michael Jackson's Off the Wall. Getting increasingly hard to get good Michael Jackson records that aren't an arm and a leg. But that Quincy Jones produced Off the Wall, hard cardboard gatefold, is a really beautiful, beautiful thing. Now, I did say there was some blues in the list. Just happens to be one of the great blues albums. This record was in my top, was it my top 5 or did I make it number 6? I can't quite remember now. I did a video of the best blues albums of all time a few months back. This is Then Play On, the third record by Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. Greatest, what a sleeve that is. And the music more than lives up to the billing. It is an absolutely wonderful record. From Coming Your Way, a kind of acoustic start all the way through. But I think side 2 is where it just takes off. Rattlesnake Shake, Searching for Madge, Fighting for Madge. It works as a standalone record. This is the Japanese first press. Yeah. All right, 3 to go. One of these I've had before, the other 2 I haven't. This is the record I've had before. I have just such great feedback about this. This is Everything But the Girl. Love Not Money, their second record. When I listen to this record, I don't know Tracy Thorn. You can't compare Tracy Thorn in any way to the weird majesty that is Morrissey. But Ben Watt and the rest of the band do create a Smithian vibe on the backing track and how the band actually sounds. And so I think that's what makes it again, not sound aged, and it's a really interesting and beautiful listen. And, quite cutting of the time. Certainly some tracks that are dealing with living in the time of Thatcherism. And very much the same on this record. This is Revelations by The Killing Joke. This is their third album. I think it's like 1982 or so. This is an uncompromising record. This is almost industrial, certainly hardcore new wave. It's like hardcore new wave meets krautrock. And this is just mind-blowing. The second track on this was a single. It's called Empire Song. It is an uncompromising sledgehammer of a song. And it got on Top of the Pops. It's just like, what? So, these bands. And what's even more bizarre, I love this. The lead singer, I wish I could remember his name. The lead singer refused to go on Top of the Pops because he believed that there was a nuclear holocaust imminent. Was it Rob O'Connor? I can't remember his first name. And so he fled to Iceland, left the band to go on Top of the Pops without a lead singer. So they lip-synced to something. I haven't seen the footage. I really should. And then they followed him to Iceland. And you know what? By the time the kind of mid to late 80s came, Killing Joke had become, a joke. Is that just the worst pun ever? Because they became a kind of proto-heavy metal band. And you know what? These earlier records, 10 times better than those records. And then finally, first time that this has appeared on the list, this folk rock phenomenon, the Japanese press of Don McLean's American Pie. American Pie, Till Tomorrow, Vincent and Crossroads. I heard as a kid growing up that side of music, I don't know how many times, because my mum had this tape. Everyone had this. What a record. What a hit. And that is the final record on tonight's list. Don McLean's American Pie. First ever appearance on a shortcuts list. So there you have it. We touched on blues rock with Free, tons of subs. We got in three of the greatest double albums, two of them live. Thin Lizzy's Live and Dangerous, Rush, The Wall. We got a picture disc in from Bon Jovi. And we got a Japanese first press promo of Cut the Crap by The Clash. Yeah. Pretty cool. All right. There you have it. Tonight's lists. Hope you enjoyed the video. As I said, the only thing that YouTube values is a comment. If you have anything to say, drop me a comment. If you want to be part of the club and you want to receive the price lists on a Wednesday at 9 p.m. Sydney time, then please send me your email address and I'll add you to the list. And thank you so much for watching. As always, it is much appreciated. Bye.